Welcome to Freedom Forest, folks, our 3 acres of permaculture-inspired gardens in the southeast of England. Our aim here is to be as self-sufficient from our land as possible and grow as much of our own food as possible, whilst creating beautiful gardens that benefit and feed both us and nature. July is when the summer harvests really get going, and so from now on more of my time is spent harvesting, preserving and creating delicious meals with all of the fresh organic produce that we now have in abundance. After a smaller than normal harvest of French garlic caused by early rust, and finding the first few elephant garlics I had in the same bed had split open quite a lot, I was unsure how our main elephant garlic harvest was going to be. I was pretty happy with how it looked coming out of the ground though, and there didn't seem to be too much damage from the allium leaf miner, which was a relief. If it dries well, we should have enough to sell some. I think this was the biggest bulb I harvested all day. If you haven't come across elephant garlic before, it's milder than normal garlic with what I think is a slightly smoky flavour, much like leeks, which it's actually closer related to than garlic, and it is great fun to grow and harvest. On the 1st of July we harvested apricots for the very first time. This early variety is Flavorcot and will hopefully have another harvest in a few more weeks from our orange summer apricot tree. I think the mild winter has helped them along this year. We decided to harvest once we saw the birds had started pecking at the fruits. We harvested a good amount of black currants in early July. We enjoyed them fresh on breakfast, and my favourite way to enjoy their flavour and goodness for longer is by making batches up of black currant cordial. And if you'd like to hear more about our food forest, then check out our recent food forest tour video. Okay, so whilst our beautiful blackcurrant cordial is slowly straining through the sieve, I am going to harvest us some lovely fresh veggies for tonight's dinner. Harvesting aromatic and medicinal herbs to dry for teas is ongoing through spring and summer. St John's wort is at its peak in early July, and this month I began harvesting our precious tulsi or holy basil from our polytunnel too. This adaptogenic herb is probably my favourite. These are our second early potatoes, a Sapo variety called Kifli, and we're really pleased with the harvest this year. We've had scabby potatoes in previous years, which we think is due to inconsistent watering in the past. We have better catchment and water storage now, and a new hose nearby, so we watered more regularly this year, and it's definitely paid off. The relief was obviously a bit much for Dan, and he had to have a lie down. Last September I sowed Lisbon spring onions to grow over winter in our polytunnel. We started harvesting them as needed, small and crisp by March, and then they slowly swelled up, and by mid-May we were harvesting them as full-sized onions. A very welcome bonus crop for this time of year, as our leeks had just finished. I have just harvested all of these onions from our polytunnel, which I pretty much grew by accident. The flowers have been putting on an amazing show for us throughout July, and it's been so good to see a massive upturn in insect activity this month. They have been enjoying the flowers as much as us. This is a great reminder why flowers in a veg garden are as important as the vegetables. We've been enjoying the delicious, strong scent of the lilies. Sitting up here on a warm evening with our glass of kombucha is one of our favourite ways to take in all the abundance and beauty at this time of year. And the dappled shade of our eucalyptus trees is welcome from the midday sun at times. So behind here we have got all of our elephant garlic harvest hanging to dry, and you may have seen in one of our previous videos that Dan made all of these rows of hooks that he put under the overhang of our shed so that we can hang our crops like garlic and corn and onions and things like that to dry, and it is working really well. It gets really good airflow through here, and what we did was add this plastic covering just temporarily to keep the light off all of the garlic as well, because it's best not to get too much light on your bulbs whilst they're drying. We are really happy with how the elephant garlic harvest has turned out. I was a little bit concerned when I harvested a few bulbs I had in with my French garlic because they had split really badly. The main bed of elephant garlic was actually a lot cleaner. We've got a few big bulbs that have split, and it's been really interesting actually reading some of the comments from my previous vlog, because a lot of people have suggested that the splitting could also be due to leaving the garlic in the ground longer than it's needed. And that makes a lot of sense. So thanks to everyone who added comments and shared their experience and knowledge about growing garlic. Really, really useful. And another useful tip was somebody said normally with hardneck garlic, it's about 2 weeks after the scapes have formed that the garlic is ready to harvest. Now, I think that may have been one of our viewers from New Zealand. So the growing habits might be a little bit faster out there, but certainly in the future, I'm going to start checking on the bulbs about 2 weeks after the scapes have formed. So great information there. There still was some damage by the allium leaf miner, and I do wonder if by there being some damage on the layers that makes the bulbs maybe a little bit easier to split. But certainly great information, great learning, and something I'm definitely going to be watching closer for in the future. I took our French garlic down a few days ago. That is in the shed, and my next job now is to sort through that, put it all into size order and work out what I need to save for seed, what we're going to save for eating, and if we have any left over that we can possibly sell this year. The overall French garlic harvest was a lot smaller than we normally have. That was definitely caused by an earlier onset of rust, which I've never really had an issue with here before, but due to the very damp year that we've had, I think rust came in a bit earlier and stunted the growth of the bulbs before they would normally have finished. So let's go and have a look at the French garlic now. Okay, so that is this year's harvest of French garlic sorted out. And I have got 79 of the smallest bulbs that I'm saving that we will keep to use. And I could easily use 2 of these a week in cooking some weeks, sometimes more than that, but we will also have the elephant garlic to add to our supply as well. Then I've saved 60 of the biggest bulbs for replanting in September, October time for next year's harvest. And I'm basing that on the fact that I'd like to grow approximately 250 bulbs of garlic. And so that's allowing for each bulb to have about 4 good sized cloves on. So we'll probably actually end up with a bit more than that, but I would rather err on the side of caution rather than get to planting and not have enough of the right size cloves. And then that leaves 45 medium-sized bulbs that we can potentially sell. I have made a few inquiries with some local greengrocers as to whether they'd be interested, and there is some interest, but it's just working out what the best option is for us to sell. And that's only quite a small amount of the French garlic, but in the next week or so I'll be sorting out the elephant garlic, and I think I should have around about 50 heads of elephant garlic to sell as well. So once I've got that all up together, I just need to do some research on the market prices for elephant garlic and French garlic, and then I'll try and come up with a plan for how I can best get that on to other people to enjoy, and also ideally in the most cost-effective way as well. I've tried 2 methods for hanging the French garlic this year: traditional plaits and also threading onto wire, which is super easy and looks great. Thanks to Charles Dowding for sharing this idea recently. Blueberries are probably my most loved gift from our food forest. Our favourite variety that we've discovered so far is Chandler. It gives the biggest, juiciest berries I've ever tasted. We're going to add more of this variety to our forest garden over winter for sure. Summer harvests from our food forest are sweet in so many ways. We harvested our first cantaloupe melon on the 25th of July, which feels a little earlier than normal, but very welcome. Freshly picked melons has to be one of the best homegrown treats. This year's main onion harvest has been my biggest yet. I think we'll have plenty to see us through now. I use onions or leeks in nearly every meal that I cook. I love roasting the red onions in big chunks until they caramelise a little, and I also use heaps in the roasted tomato paste that I make in batches once the tomatoes are producing abundantly. It's a shame I didn't get to lift in our onions a few days earlier, as some have just begun to bolt now, and a little mildew has started forming too, since our last rainy day. We multi-sow our onions, which means the bulbs are often a little smaller, but you can grow a lot more onions overall in the space. We hope you've enjoyed this month's vlog, guys. If you have, we would massively appreciate if you could click the thumbs up button just below this video, and also drop us a comment to let us know. We love hearing from you, and we always love reading the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to Freedom Forest Life if you haven't done so already, to see more content just like this, and we look forward to catching you here again soon. Thanks for watching. Peace and plants.